let's just, here we go. And she was dead the whole time.
Dude, okay, we are now on to Carnival of Souls.
No. I don't want a fucking Sixth Sense reference out of this. What I want out of this is I want to acknowledge the fact that this is not listed on the Wikipedia page for things that have been influenced by incident at Owl Creek or occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. And that really bothers me because this is occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge. It's that fucking thing again.
Even got a bridge.
Yes, it has a bridge.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. No, it did not get,
I want to say that this must have been the only movie David Lynch has ever seen in his life.
Yes.
and I think David Lynch needs to write.
That's the pull quote.
That's the pull quote.
That's the pull quote this week.
Oh my god.
I think David Lynch has to write a huge thank you letter to Herk Harvey.
Yeah.
For giving him his entire fucking career.
He killed Herk Harvey and stole his brain. That's
he implanted his brain into his own head.
This is 1960, right?
Really remarkable how accurate that statement is.
Now, thing is, Herk Harvey made this movie that was so far ahead of the curve for anybody else doing this stuff. It's like a teacher asks for, like, we want to do a weekend book report about Long Island, and someone turns in the fucking Great Gatsby. I mean, it was like, it's like, this was just, it had all the stuff, all the elements and tropes and suspense elements that we see repeated over and over again. This is the first time.
This guy was an industrial director.
And it's outsider art.
He made movies of like people punching holes in things for General Electric or whatever.
Exactly.
And then like took 3 weeks off of work, borrowed $30,000 and made this movie.
Yeah.
Which is bad. This movie is bad.
It is kind of bad.
All right. No.
Oh, here we go. Oh no. Let's give it to this
greatness.
Go on,
yes,
Chad.
it does. But this movie is bad.
The line readings are at like Plan 9.
Absolutely.
It had an Ed Wood
big
feel
time.
to it.
No, that's what I wrote down. Ed Wood.
No, you need
Ed Wood and Teenagers from Outer Space. It's all the same acting school.
Tad needs to put some finish on his wood here. What are you talking about?
What do you mean? Like this movie?
Bad. You can't say it's just bad. What do you mean by bad?
Okay, the acting is like you found the woman who played the witch from Troll 2 and we're like, get all of your friends, we're making a movie. So it's just constant the dialogue just goes up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. Every time somebody says something, there's 4 different registers that they're talking in. It's really weirdly shot. And I know some of that is because they had to keep jumping between like 3 different cameras in this, which I'm sure is really difficult to do.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's an Aeroflex in here, and then there's like some emplaced cameras. And again, this guy was an industrial director, so he had access to some stuff. They obviously used first takes in several things because they did a bunch of guerrilla filmmaking. The audio is interestingly good in some places and absolutely atrocious in other places.
Yeah, but you can find that in almost any film in any decade. It's really weird about audio.
A lot of it was ADR, wasn't it?
The Foley, yes. And the Foley was almost surrealistic. It was
very, it added the odd mood.
Really weird.
In fact, the first time she stops hearing reality, I was just like, oh, well, they didn't get room tone that week.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not a question of the execution. They did what they could because it was someone said it was a rogue film, it was a runaway film. It was just
they were limited on certain things.
Yeah,
it was filmmaking. They didn't get permits for a lot of this.
This was 60, and they're still making movies in studios back then because you couldn't control how the sound and picture looked in the wild because there was no video assist. It's kind of took your chances in a lot of ways. And which is why I thought that Lawrence, Kansas scenes were actually more confident than the ones in Salt Lake City. Because he said it's his home territory, he probably knew exactly what he wanted to get, and he got it.
Also, Salt Lake City is where you would go in the midst of falling off a bridge if you thought you were going to continue to live.
Yeah, but, yeah, that's true. Well, I'm dead, but I'm still going to go to Salt Lake City and take that gig playing organ in a church. That's probably not a
the priest, the doctor, the lady who owns the apartment that she lives in.
The landlady, yeah.
Yeah, those line readings are like somewhere between Ed Wood and like 70s porno movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll give you
Like,
that.
they don't. There's no and like the doctor basically is like acting with his neck the whole time.
But you are on record, Chris, as saying that sometimes these old movies have this sort of like performer artifice that is a disconnect for you. I seriously put this is like an indie film. You know, like I think the first independent film in America might have been John Cassavetes' 1959 Shadows, but
Yeah,
this is not long after that.
62.
And Scott is right. Like, to make a movie like this outside the studio was almost unheard of.
Mhm.
And so
only they'd found people who could
in that
act.
time period, you still do have that disconnect of like acting styles. Obviously, these people are not A-listers,
Mhm.
but I mean, there's so many things we can go into, and I'm sure we will, where this is just so ahead of its time. It's so creepy and spooky, and
There are scenes that are fucking awesome.
you know,
Everything that takes place at that abandoned amusement park is
Saltaire,
pure
yeah.
gold.
Well, that was just, he probably saw that locations and built the film around it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, look at that.
For the
Look at
logo.
the organ behind John. Dude.
That was
know.
my second choice for a screen cap. Was that organ? I'm like, what the fuck is that?
That is an organ factory.
Yeah.
They obviously made a movie about organs being built
In Lawrence, Kansas.
Yeah, Lawrence, Kansas. Yeah, exactly. So, even Carson, I'll be back soon. I'm gonna make a movie about this. This is gonna be really cool. And then,
I think the performances or lack of performances, I mean, they were so bad, especially those three characters that were mentioned about the landlady and the cop the
doctor and the priest.
The doctor, the priest, and the
you
landlady.
couldn't even, like, by watching their faces, which I started to think about performances on screen. It's like when people are saying lines, you're watching their faces. This is very basic, but you're watching their faces to interpret how they feel about the lines they're saying. And these, you couldn't get anything. It was like watching puppets. They were like motionless faces, just saying the words that they'd been told to say. So
I kind of felt
adds a lot to the creepiness of the thing.
I kind of felt for the guy who just wanted to like date her, and she was.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you mean dollar store Tim Roth?
Yeah. That poor guy. He's such a simp, dude.
I found him
that
creepier
shot
than
I
the,
referred to,
sergeant in the previous.
He was creepier than the guy with the black circles around his eyes.
Yeah.
But that shot I referred to
Again, was like this year's. You know, if anybody remembers Robert Blake from Lost Highway.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
like
that's-
this.
That's all. That's all the guys in the bus actually for me. But that's
Yeah.
But that guy just that shot I referred to in the Twitter feed. But they're in the middle of talking about something and they smash cut right in the middle of a sentence.
Well, hi there. I've been waiting an awful long time for you. My car's just over there. I know just the right place to.
Yeah.
$10. Fuck. I was like, all right, this guy's, there's someone says, fuck this. We need to hear the whole of it. We're just going to go to the next thing. I mean, that's what I'm talking about advance. You see it. That's common now.
Yeah.
It's rare back then.
But
Yeah, there's a lot of good filmmaking in here around a bad story.
No,
Those-
that objective thing going back and forth, the subjective stuff where you should keep seeing things, the objective things that you think are normal. This guy's
I
brilliant.
love those movies told by unreliable narrators.
Me too. It's just it was for its time. It was amazing.
Those cuts that you think are very modern are because they didn't shoot any coverage. He was like in the
Right.
editing room.
No,
and-
the dude probably walked right into the camera and just blew the take, so they just cut it early.
He just turned directly to the camera and smiled real big. And they're like,
Exactly.
fuck, I can't use this.
And the thing is, they're in Salt Lake. They're shooting. They have to wait a week to get their dailies. So it's like you have to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and that was the thing. And that's why I know that everything that shot on Saltaire.
This was for Halloween, guys. You know what I mean?
Well, but,
I know.
but,
There were no
again,
dailies,
like,
by the way.
there's so many
If you
things
think
that I
there are
was like,
dailies
I
in
love-
this movie, you have severely misunderstood how they
I'm
made
sure
this.
they finished. It was in the can before
Hey,
they
the
saw
guy
it.
was a professional, man. He didn't do dailies, but he definitely tried to get coverage.
He
No,
literally
but
shot
think
this
about,
on
like,
his
there's
vacation.
that one shot the first time she goes to the abandoned amusement park, and I don't know where he put the camera. It was like on top of a building or something.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like that long unbroken take of her sort of like wandering around this empty,
Mm-hmm.
like
She's really tiny. That one.
yeah,
That
that was
boardwalk, yeah.
Fire in the
like,
frame.
like that I don't know whether that was a conscious choice or an accident, but it was very good.
Yeah.
This
it was
whole
really
movie could be called, I don't know if it was
Uh,
a conscious choice or an accident.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might have lucked into
No,
something.
but
that was
I think
amazing,
Chris
but-
is right. That particular shot, I feel like that influenced other filmmaker? Like, you know, that shot was so beautifully, yeah, it looked like an artist who was like, here's my work. But yeah, it might have just been like an accident.
That's actually the strongest thing about the film is the guy had a good eye and he could really compose a shot.
Well,
and
yes.
some great shots in this thing.
He also
And
had
wasn't
an
afraid
intent,
to,
I
and
think,
wasn't
when it
afraid to
comes
use
across.
an Aeroflex to like shoot inside a car or Dutch an angle coming down,
Yeah,
like and do a tracking shot with it and stuff like that.
it made it feel modern.
Unfortunately, it leads to it jumping around a bunch, but
Yeah.
it does like again, there's good stuff in here. I just think like I didn't find the story to be compelling and well story because I don't really think there is one. I didn't find the story to be compelling at all. And I couldn't stop laughing at the acting. Like every time her
Even
eyes
her.
get wider in every scene that she's in, like this isn't the widest her eyes get.
Oh, I was looking at the screenshots. Like they were gigantic.
I know,
Like,
yeah, big eyes.
like
That's probably why she
all the way
got
around
that was
people.
I think that was literally his direction. He's like, eyes bigger.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
No, by the end of it, he's got the holders from Clockwork Orange,
Yeah, from Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
dripping fucking saline in her eyes so they can keep shooting.
But,
Well, so it's not on, I mean,
well, wait, hold on. But back to the Elm Creek Bridge thing, which is like literally like his life flashing before his eyes, and then like,
Look at this.
was she? Yeah, that's about as big as they got.
No, it's
was she dead or not?
Yes.
She's
No,
dead.
this is
So this movie
she's in the car. She's dead in the car, drowned.
Right,
you saw Jacob's Ladder, right? You know, Jacob's Ladder with Tim Robbins. It's the same movie.
Also,
It's a good movie.
Also, occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge.
Well, that's
right.
and Lost came from that too. So there it is.
But-
Yeah.
Is this her life? Is this like a version of her life flash before her eyes as she's drowning, or
As they're falling
right.
would be my assumption.
Afterworld,
Yeah, she's
Afterworld ghost. Was she a ghost?
I think the
I
concept
think
of
the
that,
metaphysics
even though
are
it
a
came
little
from
muddled.
Ambrose Bierce's
Do you, Jim?
novella, it was such an understanding idea to put it in a film. I don't think it wasn't well developed. I think he's like, we're going to show these things and show us flashbacks, and we're going to show the degradation.
I read the
degrading.
I
No,
read
the
the Criterion. Go ahead.
No, they near the end at the big ball where all people are dancing and there's a streamer stand.
beautiful?
Fuck, that was
Great
the part where we finally broke away from reality. It's like, and the thing is, okay, if she died, explain why they were investigating her being run out to the assault flats. You see that one
Because
hand in
she's
the sand at the
imagining
end.
it. You can imagine whatever you
So
So
want.
she's
about it.
imagining
Yeah,
that
that's still
investigators
fake too, I think,
imagining that she's dead.
Yeah, because she's imagining that people will care about her.
Oh, okay.
She imagined that she got up onto the shore of the creek somehow, and people put a blanket over her shoulders, and
Yeah.
all that was in her imagination.
And she wanted to leave. She wanted to leave, obviously, and so she imagined a way for herself to leave and a place for her to go that she'd heard of, and a job that wouldn't be particularly difficult, but she could go shopping and live her life and whatever, and maybe a boyfriend, but she obviously doesn't understand. And her last interaction with men is them running her off a fucking bridge, so she's obviously going to be a little
Going like
withdrawn
14
in that
miles an hour.
situation.
World's slowest car chase or car race.
You
Oh,
don't
nice.
really see what even makes that car go off the bridge. It's just like all of a sudden.
All of a sudden, it's like, I'll tell you what, somebody decided to crank the wheel real hard.
No, the roadbed was uneven, and they're probably drinking too. So it's like
They were going a solid 8 miles an hour. So
Exactly, man. Like, shit
That's
happens.
fast for
Also
Kansas, man.
sawed through the
Yeah.
But I read he had to
railing.
pay for the bridge to be like put back together.
$38 entire dollars.
It was nothing. It was like nothing to put that railing back.
It was
on.
$38.
Yeah.
Okay.
But aren't you guys glad that you saw this movie?
Oh yeah, I remember
Yes,
seeing this as a kid.
absolutely.
I
Also,
remember
this
seeing this as a
movie.
kid and being like really thrown by it, like it was like disturbing to me as a kid.
Mhm.
No, it's like you said, it's like this is like every David Lynch, like all of his tricks all in one movie.
I really want to watch the riff tracks now, is what I'm
Also,
going to
the-
say.
taking off of the film begins with a car race. The in media res was not even common back then, and that was impressive.
What?
The very
it
beginning
was
of the film.
common in
Yeah, it
the
literally-
Odyssey.
You literally walk into the car
Yeah,
race.
you don't know why they're doing it or what's going on. You don't really care. It doesn't really matter. That's
I thought I
love that.
skipped a chapter, honestly.
know.
I was like, oh, did I accidentally like click something?
I know, that's the
And-
thing. I like that. It's again, his ideas, Herk Harvey's ideas were very advanced. Maybe it's because he was so far away from Hollywood. He just,
Screenwriter.
but industrial-
he wanted to make.
But industrial films are like that too. Like
Right.
you see the beginning
They're
of industrial
avant-garde.
film.
I've edited
Yeah.
a lot of these things. Industrial films are very strange.
So I did a little bit of research. The writer's named John Clifford, and he never wrote anything else except for jokes. He wrote jokes for a radio comedian.
Oh.
And then he went to work at the same company where Herk Harvey worked, making educational and industrial films. So he was the writer, never wrote another screenplay, and they just cooked this up, the two of them, and they went out and made it.
Well
I
done.
love that.
You know,
and
it showed up on a lot of lists of movies that people who make movies that we all love. They really like this movie.
Yeah, this is on Criterion.
Influential. Yeah. It's influential for sure. And it was one of those films that was not, it was thrown out as a double feature for drive-ins when it came out.
Yeah,
and
that's probably all they wanted to do.
But it grew in stature over the years as people sort of rediscovered it, and it started getting programmed at art houses and stuff.
And the woman, I guess this lady that was in this who didn't do much after her, I guess she spent like a really long time trying to reboot it or.
Really?
They did reboot it.
Wow.
There's another. They rebooted it twice.
There's two remakes of this film.
Yes.
Yeah. Like Wes Craven's production company did one of them, and they tried to get her to come back for a cameo, and I guess that wasn't what she was actually trying to angle.
Wow, I had no idea.
No.
And there's like a Spanish one too.
Yeah.
That's like the same story, but they didn't get any of the rights or anything.
That's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of like a Mexican horror movie.
What was missing was the wrestling masks.
It is. It's almost there.
I thought about it a lot. I actually wrote some stuff down, and I just wanted to say.
Oh, John, God, start with this stuff next time.
I said that this movie derives a lot of its power from its ineptitude. if this movie had been better, it wouldn't have been any good.
That's true. That's true.
Sure. Yeah. In other words, all those things we've been talking about as minuses, like there's no establishing shots, the script is really sort of meandering, it doesn't make sense, and then the performances, which are avant-garde by the fact that they're drained of any humanity, all that takes you where you need to go. So her waking life isn't any different from her life as a corpse. It's always weird, it's always disjointed and sort of drained of any humanity, and that's something I think the screenwriter was consciously going for, because that's her character before she dies. She doesn't care that she's an organist and the priest says you need to get some spirituality into your playing, and she's like, it's just a job.
Yeah
So she says it's just a job 6 times.
She's already dead. She can't.
She's trying to convince herself.
But that scene I thought was her, because she was playing this weird avant-garde kind of experimental music thing in the giant organ. I thought that was what you'd get from somebody who was dead, who didn't have a soul, who just played weird stuff. And that was a signal, I thought.
On the nose, exactly, because she doesn't play one hymnal in the whole thing. There's no actual church music played. It's just
weird ass
improvisations.
Yeah, she's dead at that point. She's she doesn't feel anything, and that's the thing.
Also, can we talk about how the things that are the keys that her fingers are pressing never syncs up at all with the music?
No, not even close.
You mean this? No. You mean this thing?
Yeah,
whatever this was she was doing at one point.
It's like the cat on the keyboard meme.
If she'd continued doing this and then pulled out an ace of clubs and been like, is this your card? It would have made more sense to me.
That shit's hard to get right in movies. It really is.
Don't film it then.
Or get somebody who can play a fucking keyboard.
Right.
Get over their shoulder, get the shot.
So this is an interesting.
He says he can play piano. Get him in here.
This is an interesting thing, which is I've spent time around an organist playing the organ. Actually, several organists playing the organ, and I will say that her feet on the pedal, or I don't know if those were her feet, but someone's feet on the pedals, did look really convincing with what she was playing. It actually worked quite well. The rocking, the not wearing shoes, all of that stuff is the way that actually works. But as soon as it cut to the keyboard up top and she's just rolling her hands back and forth, it was like you're making a Dragon Ball. You're gonna Hadouken someone. I don't know what is happening here.
Do organ players play barefoot often?
Yes, because
Yeah.
you have to hit it. It's just like the top where you have the wide white keys and you have the narrow black keys that are back set. So you have to roll your feet back and forth onto them the way you would roll your fingers back and forth.
The foot pedals are all the bass, right?
The foot pedals are another keyboard.
They're opening. They're opening the valves in the top.
Actually, all 3 ranks of that thing were different bass keyboards and different sounds.
Also, I'm pretty sure that an organ that has that many pipes would actually have 4. It would be 3 and then 1 instead of 2 and then 1.
Because it's all wired together. There's no physical connection. It's all just electrical signals going out to a pump and the pipes, right? It's really fascinating.
Well, they used to be cables,
right?
Yeah.
And then and by this point it would have been wires, and valves.
Huh, yeah, that's interesting.
So I got a couple more notes.
By all means, take it away.
This is mostly cribbed from IMDb, but if you want to see another Herk Harvey film, Shake Hands with Danger from 1980 is on YouTube.
Oh, he did make another one.
Yeah, it's an industrial. It's a safety film.
Shake Hands with Danger.
Shake Hands with Danger. It's about don't work on the tractor while it's running and stuff like that. So
please post that on Twitter. Please put that in the Twitter thread.
Why don't they look?
He's made many films. He's got about 50 credits on IMDb, and there's also a quote from him from when he started going to like horror conventions and stuff and talking about the film. He says, people come up to me and ask me, how come I never made another film? And he says, I've made like 800 films. Some of his other titles include Cindy Goes to a Party, What About Prejudice, and this is my favorite, Pork, the Meal with a Squeal.
I want to watch all of these.
I do too.
Literally
I
want
do
to watch
too.
every single one of these.
Especially the party one.
Man.
Yeah, Cindy Goes to a Party is going to be problematic. I'm calling that up front. It's going to be problematic. My question is,
same guy who's the neighbor.
It's just the scene at the bar where
my question is, in what way is it problematic, and in how many ways is it problematic?
Can we talk about that guy a little bit more? Fake Tim Roth.
Fake Tim Roth.
Dollar Store Tim Roth? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey. And his line readings, like from line to line, he would be sad and then he'd be angry and then he'd be like real leering. And
he was like relentless though. I mean, he never gave up.
I pulled something different. He's just trying to get a rise out of her, and she would not do it. She was unresponsive. So he had to keep changing his tone all the time. It wasn't really directing. It wasn't really acting.
To sexually assault her.
Right.
He gave it a shot.
He was pretty charming when he brought her the coffee, and she seemed to be into it for a minute there.
Yeah.
For like a second.
And then he tries to get her to put alcohol in it 3 times, and she's like, God damn, what is wrong with you?
Mm-hmm.
And then what about that scene on the stairwell where he's kind of touching the banister and around a little
when
bit?
he falls down in the least convincing way you possibly could. Yeah. Like, it was very weird.
Also, this is only 78 minutes long, so well done. It was nice.
And you know what, though? Unlike last week's movie, like, it didn't feel like it wasted my time. Like,
No, I'm not angry about it.
There's no fluff. It's a non-story, but I didn't feel like there was.
It did not lag.
I was a little worried about the Nightingale too, because that was over 2 hours. So this is a short one.
Nightingale could have been a bit shorter, I thought.
Yeah.
I thought those dream sequences, there was probably about 1 too many, and they went on a little long too.
There should have been 2. There should have been the first one. There should have been the first one where they're dancing, which was relatively short. That was only like 20 or 30 seconds. The best one. And then
beautifully shot.
Maybe the last one with the people hanging from the trees and them swinging around. They could have skipped the one in the middle.
Yeah, it was long.
Yeah.
There's also in one of the fugue scenes when she was downtown, she couldn't hear anything running around. There's a 1/10 of a second you can see the Mormon Tabernacle.
Oh yeah.
And the thing is, if you go to Salt Lake, all you can see there, if you go anywhere, is the state capitol and the Mormon Tabernacle. They're always in the background of everything, at least especially back then. It was a small town back then. So at one point she's turning a corner and there it is, the big pointy spires, the tabernacle. And it's interesting. I thought it gives some local color in there.
You know, I said I wasn't going to bring it up, but I'm going to bring it up. Mm-hmm. That guy who is the mechanic when she's pulling out to leave town definitely was thinking about what his scale rate was. Like he was just watching her pull out, watching her drive away, looking directly into the camera, curling his lips slightly. And it was just like, do I get lunch out of this?
Yeah, he gets.
I don't think people got
you
paid
get-
scale. This was one of those movies where people got paid in like, I don't know, S&H green stamps, basically.
Well, it's
yeah.
you get meals and
I'll pay
credit.
you if this
That's what
movie
we give
makes
you.
money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Give them shares, man. Hope it all works out.
No, that's the indie film thing. You'll
meant
get
he was
meals
getting
and you
paid
get credit.
scale within the movie.
I've got
Not
nice credits
for
on
the
movies that I
movie.
get paid for. Anyway, so well done.
Yeah,
so
good picks.
Yeah, good pick. And
Really good picks.
what prevailed upon you to get this one going, Jared?
What's that?
What prevailed upon you to pick this one?
Carnival of Souls?
Yeah.
Halloween. He
Well,
just said that.
yeah, because Halloween, for one, just being October and it being sort of an avant-garde, for all intents and purposes, it's a horror film, right?
Yeah. More or less.
Of sorts. But also, I had never seen it until I think last year or the year before, and I was really taken with it. And I'm a big fan of David Lynch, and I just got all of those vibes.
Yeah.
And and I think it's one of those ones that. Yeah. I think it's one of those ones that a lot of people haven't seen, though. I mean, so
I haven't seen it for 20 years.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
It was an eye opener. It really was.